I will likely never take Arimidex again. Hey, look, I've taken Arimidex for the duration of the time that I've been on TRT when I needed to manage estrogen, which was usually with higher doses of testosterone, even 150 plus. I've had a fine time with Arimidex. You know, it's a little harsh, right? It can lower your estrogen pretty quickly. It can certainly cause side effects, and the tissue level estradiol kind of depletes rather quickly on Arimidex, and that's what leads to joint pain and other side effects. The thing about estrogen control on TRT, like assuming your estrogen's high enough to be problematic, which it isn't always for people, is that the number one thing to take away about it is that you don't want to lower the estrogen too quickly, and you usually don't want to lower it a lot. You usually just want to lower it a little bit and slowly. And that's where exemestane or Aromacin comes into play. I just closed this. I got to check the settings here. Before we start the video, again, I want to announce that the source list is officially here. This is a vetted list of anabolics, hormone hacking agents, ancillaries, HCG, tadalafil, erectogenic stuff, everything you can think of. It took me a long time to vet and validate and use a lot of the major compounds that we use, not just all testosterone esters, but oral anabolics, obviously aromatase inhibitors, DHT itself, pure raw DHT gel, host of other things. Anyway, source list is now live. You can buy it at livecortex.com or find it down in the description of this video. It took a lot of time up there. So again, Torque Stack, Nootropic Stack, pretty epic. You can buy it at livecortex.com. If you need to hire me for TRT, sexual optimization, libido optimization, host of other things, you can do so in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, so I'm never taking Arimidex ever again. This is probably true. I probably won't touch Arimidex ever again because I've had such a great time on a testosterone cycle using Aromacin where I really needed to use an AI. By the way, I'm one of those guys that needs to use an AI to an extent, just a little bit on TRT as well. It's just there's something about estrogen rising and being prolactogenic and obviously being inhibitory to penile erections that for me personally, a lot of my clients, in fact, most people on TRT, if they're being honest with themselves, that is, counterproductive ultimately. Men are not supposed to have high estrogen. That's just the bottom line. Now, exemestane, the drug name for Aromacin, is an irreversible steroidal aromatase inhibitor of type 1, structurally related to, by the way, androstenedione for androstenedione, acting as a false substrate for the aromatase enzyme and is processed to an intermediate that then irreversibly binds to the active site of the aromatase enzyme, causing permanent inactivation. It just inactivates it. Like that aromatase enzyme is now not functional. It will never be functional again. Because ultimately the intermediate is very structurally similar to the aromatase enzyme, it binds to it irreversibly and it prevents the conversion of androgens into estrogen. Now here's something really important. I'm going to shrink myself just a little bit so that we can all view this very, very important tidbit of information here. And that is that a study of young adult males found that estrogen suppression rate for exemestane or Aromacin varied from 35% for estradiol to 70% for estrone. So look, this isn't substantially reducing your estradiol comparable to Arimidex. It is the more mild aromatase inhibitor, which you would think would be bad. You just want to kill estrogen. Well, you don't want to kill estrogen. You just want to lower it a little bit in some cases, particularly if it's causing gynecomastia or if it's causing dick problems. Those are the two reasons you really want to use an aromatase inhibitor. Rather than a 70% or an 80% reduction, which is what happens when you take Arimidex, you really only get a 35 to potentially a 55% reduction in estradiol, which is a lot more favorable on your lipids. It's favorable on the sexual system. You don't lose libido, which you can certainly do if you take too much Arimidex. But as I've always said, is the target for estrogen on TRT. You can take the estrogen down just a little bit, and it's easier to keep it in your range. And therein lies like people's good experiences with estrogen reduction on TRT. In fact, people that take Arimidex and have a good time, it's just lowering it enough to stay in their range, and their body isn't processing it in a way which is just drastically reducing the estrogen. Here's another interesting tidbit. The maximal inhibition of aromatase occurs after 2 to 3 days of taking Aromacin. This is again why it's more mild. Like right away, yes, you're going to notice some estrogen reduction benefits because it starts working right away. It kills a good degree of the enzymes that it's going to irreversibly bind to and inhibit in the first 24 hours. But as you continue through metabolic processes, clearing estradiol from your system, because you've got processes by which you clear estradiol through the urine and through the feces, well, then ultimately over the next couple of days, estradiol, the serum as well as the tissue level estrogen is going to go down. If I were to give it an estimate on the maximal time within which estradiol is inhibited, or we should say estradiol is lower, it would be like 4 to 6 days, after which you have to build new aromatase enzymes, which you do all of the time. I mean, drinking booze will help you build more aromatase enzymes just in case people are, in a place where they're wondering how to do that for some reason. And then, estradiol just kind of comes back to normal slowly over time. You don't get some substantial rebound, which makes this preferable over Arimidex. And herein, like this whole mechanism of action, how long it takes, specifically how it works, makes it a lot easier for people to stay in their Goldilocks zone. It's like, say your zone is 35 to 45 picograms per milliliter of estradiol. Sometimes it's that tight of a window. For some people on lower doses of TRT, it's going to be 25 to 35 picograms per milliliter. Your best shot at doing this, which is going to make your TRT experience, especially relative to sexual function, so much better, is to be taking exemestane or aromasin over Arimidex or anastrozole. Now, something on the FDA documents that I think is really important for people to understand is that if you consume aromasin with a fatty meal, you're going to get more absorption in it and you're probably going to get lower levels of estradiol as a result of it. Now, I personally, because I have found the dose that works for me on 7 pumps of testosterone cream per day, which is effectively a testosterone cream cycle, I don't consume it with fat because the dose that I have of it right now and its ultimate concentration and efficacy in lowering estradiol is perfect. Okay, so I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to change that. So that's me. But if you need more efficacy of it, you can take the same dose and get a better effect by just consuming fat with aromasin. Let's talk about dosing, because this is where it really matters and where I think everybody is very curious, or they just want to hear my opinion on what I think is the best doses of aromasin to be taking on TRT. Now listen, if you're at a TRT dose of 120 to 200 milligrams a week of testosterone, then you probably need to lower your estrogen if you're having gynecomastia-like issues, mood issues, anxiety issues, or you're having dick problems, accordion dick, or libido issues. Then you probably need to lower your estrogen maybe 10 to 15 points, okay, maybe 5 to 7 points. It really isn't a drastic reduction that will, in these cases, get morning erections back, get libido back, get sex for erections for sex back, and get the whole system functioning favorably. In that regard, for a TRT dose of testosterone, assuming that you don't drink a lot of alcohol, which would make you aromatize a hell of a lot more than the average person, then a dose of 3.125 or 6.25 once or twice a week is going to be best. You could even execute the strategy. Now, this is also a favorable strategy to prevent the ultimate significant reduction of estradiol, of only dosing aromasin at these doses, 3.125 or 6.25, when you have either gynecomastia-like symptoms or more commonly erection issues. When the morning wood goes away, when erections are a little flimsy during sex, or God forbid, not functional at all, then take some aromasin. You'll get back into your window. Sexual function will be good. Estradiol won't be inhibiting penile base blood flow, causing dysfunction of the venous occlusive operation. Okay, which works to ultimately keep blood trapped in the penis to maintain an erection. If you got dysfunction of that, well, you're gonna have venous leakage and you're gonna have erectile dysfunction. Now, if you are on a higher dose of TRT, call it 180 to 350 milligrams. I think above 350 milligrams is really where you can't call it TRT anymore, unless a person absolutely needs that for full symptom relief. I have seen many guys in my day, and this is why I'm a proponent of higher dosing for some individuals, that will require 200, 250, 300, up to 350 for TRT. For them, that's just TRT. If you're going in those ranges, and especially if you cross over into a cycle, which would be 375, 400, 500 milligrams, obviously to a gram of testosterone, well, then you're on a steroid cycle of testosterone and the doses may be different. But let's call it 200 to 350 milligrams. If you're on that dose, you probably want to look at running 12.5 milligrams of Aromasin at a time. And that might need to be taken twice a week, or it's possible that it lowers estrogen enough in your sweet spot and everything is fine if you just take it once a week. But my suggestion in that case, with higher aromatase expression and higher estradiol being converted, is to actually take 12.5 milligrams at once and then decide, do I need that twice a week? Do I need that every fourth or fifth day? Or do I need that just once a week? The effective effect duration window for Aromasin in terms of keeping estradiol lowered before the aromatase enzyme comes back alive and starts, start producing more of them and you make more estrogen is really 4 to 6 days. And so it might be the case that the whole once a week thing is just preferable so that you don't take the estrogen too low, because this is possible, although harder on Aromasin. So for higher doses of testosterone, you're probably going to want to run 12.5 milligrams at once, and that might need to be taken once a week and you're fine, or twice a week. To give you an idea or just a real life example, me on a testosterone cream cycle of 455 milligrams equivalent per week of testosterone, I need to take 12.5 milligrams once every 6 days. So that's not a lot, right? But if I took more than that, which I have in the past, my estrogen would go a little lower than I want it to be. The key with aromatase inhibitors, and even Aromasin, even though it's more forgiving, is start low and go slow. Okay, you don't want to rush it, because Aromasin, it's like you will get estrogen lowering effects, like boners might come back literally that night or the next day after dosing it, but you might not get the full effects until maybe day 2 or so, especially when you're starting to get your estradiol in range, and that might fool you into thinking, oh, maybe I need to take more, and you probably shouldn't do that. I had to take, 55 milligrams over the course of 6 days to lower my estrogen from 91 to 23 picograms per milliliter. So I had to take a lot of it to take it down substantially, and it really even wasn't that low. TRT doses, 3.125 once or twice a week, or 6.25 once or twice a week. Anything above TRT, high, strong TRT doses, 200 to 350, when you're probably going to want to run 12.5 milligrams at once, and decide whether or not you want to run that once a week or twice a week. And again, the strategy is always there for people to run it as needed, right? As you lose morning erections, you wake up one morning and they're just subpar, and you could sort of tell. You have to be aware of your dick. Okay, you got to be aware when things start to go a little awry. That's for me the number one signal. I don't get gyno. I don't really get mood disorders. I maybe lose a little bit of confidence around women. That's one thing I found when estrogen goes a little bit too high for me, but it's manageable and I'm fine. I don't really get any other wacky symptoms. The indicator for me is morning wood and erection quality. Okay, the moment that goes awry, I know estrogen comes back up. I know the feel of it. I actually know how it fucking feels, but how it physically feels. Like, I just know how that feels, and it's time for me to take an NAI at that point, and it's Aromasin. So yeah, as I said in the beginning, I won't be taking Arimidex again. I truly love Aromasin. I wanted to do a full breakdown so you guys understand it, specifically with suggested doses. All right, boys, look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization and hormone consulting company for men. We got a range of different products, ranging from the Torque Nootropic Stack, which is my baby, now 35% off. Okay, it's basically like Adderall without the side effects, so you really can't go wrong with this stack. Take 2 capsules, energy turns on, you feel amazing, you're motivated and ready to do work. Code for that is down in the description of this video. I am one of the world's foremost experts and highly sought out people for TRT protocol optimization, fixing sexual dysfunction, fixing libido problems, restoring erectile quality, a host of other things. And you can hire me for a TRT specific package at livecortex.com, or an ongoing 1 month, 3 month, or 6 month coaching package where we're really dialing everything in and you're working with me ongoingly. And again, boys, the source list has officially launched. This is a vetted source of trusted anabolics, anabolic agents, hormone hacking agents, ancillaries, everything you can think of. I mean, literally anything, including pure raw DHT powder, Andractum topically applied DHT gel. I mean, this is really, and I've worked very hard to make this a vetted, validated list of anabolics and hormone agents. And so it's live now, livecortex.com, or down the description of this video. All right. brother. It has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you have a great week. Much more content coming soon. Please like the video and sub to the channel. It makes a huge difference out there in the YouTube algorithm. Costs you nothing and really does matter. Otherwise, boys, it's been epic hanging out with you, and I'll talk to you on the next one.